My mother left me at the airport when I was 15. No warning. No hug. No, I'll call you. Just a tired look like I was a problem she'd finally solved. She pressed 2 wrinkled bills into my hand and said, "Don't embarrass me. You can handle yourself." Then she walked away, right beside her new husband, wearing a smile meant for his perfect family, the kind with matching luggage and inside jokes. I stood near the check-in counter, staring at her back as she vanished into the security line. And I realized something that night. I wasn't being left behind by accident. I was being removed on purpose. But I did handle myself. I called the man she spent years convincing me didn't want me. And 3 hours later, a private jet touched down in the dark for 1 passenger. Me. Before I tell you everything, I just want to know you're here with me. Type listening in the comments, or tell me where you're watching from. Sometimes a small connection makes a heavy memory feel less lonely. Alright, here's my story. My name is Kale Mercer. I'm 30 now. I work in family and youth advocacy in Portland, Oregon. Most days, I help teenagers stuck in homes where love comes with conditions. Tonight, it's past midnight. The city lights slide through my blinds like quiet water. And for the first time in 15 years, I'm ready to say out loud what I kept buried. The airport wasn't the beginning of my pain. It was the moment the lie finally collapsed. Because the truth is, my mother didn't abandon me once. She practiced abandoning me for years. I grew up in a small rental house in Tucson, Arizona. Peeling paint. A kitchen drawer that never stayed shut. A faucet that dripped in steady rhythm at night like it was counting time. But it felt safe. My dad, Adrian Mercer, worked at a little electronics shop. He fixed old radios, replaced cracked screens, soldered wires like he was stitching broken things back together. When I was a kid, he treated my curiosity like it mattered. He taught me how to open a computer tower without fear, how to check a power supply, how to hold a screwdriver like it was a tool, not a weapon. On weekends, he'd take me outside the city, where the sky was wider. He'd point up and say, "See that? That's Orion." Then he'd smile and add, "Stars don't get lost, Kale. They guide." My mother, Celine, worked constantly. Day shifts at a diner. Night cleaning jobs. Always tired. Always counting money. She loved me in her way. She baked me lopsided birthday cakes. She taped streamers on the wall and told me, "Be practical. The world isn't soft." Back then, I believed we were solid. I believed I had 2 parents. And then, when I was 9, everything changed. The fights started small. Low voices behind closed doors. Then longer silences. Then the air in the house felt tight, like it was holding its breath. One afternoon, they sat me down on the couch. Dad on one end, Mom on the other. And my mother said, "We're separating." I didn't understand the adult words, stability, finances, responsibility. All I heard was, "We won't be together anymore." At first, Dad came around on weekends. Then every other weekend. Then the visits became short. Then the visits became phone calls. Then the phone calls became gaps. And every time I asked about him, my mother gave me the same story, like she'd rehearsed it. "He doesn't pay enough. He's building a new life. He doesn't really care like you think he does." I was a kid. I trusted her. I trusted the picture she painted because I didn't know someone could repaint your memories. But one day I saw something. I was looking for batteries in her dresser drawer, and I found an envelope with my name on it. The handwriting looked like Dad's. Before I could even lift it, she slammed the drawer shut so hard it shook. "That's junk mail," she snapped. Then she locked her bedroom door, and something inside me tightened. Not anger yet. Just the first thin thread of suspicion that something important was being hidden from me. After the divorce, she pushed for a move. Said Tucson had nothing for us. Overnight, we left everything tied to my father, his shop, our stargazing spot, my school friends. We moved to Albuquerque, New Mexico. New street. New walls. New rules. And her mantra followed us like a shadow. He didn't call. He didn't send money. He forgot about you. And the longer I lived in that story, the more my own memories started bending around it. Then she got a new job at a trendy restaurant. High-end clients, business types, people who wore money like perfume. That's where she met Graham Kessler. Graham had the kind of confidence that fills a room without raising its voice. Designer watch. Easy laugh. He tipped too much, like he wanted everyone to notice. The first night he sat in her section, he left a note on the receipt. Hope I get your table again. My mother brought that receipt home like it was a trophy. Her eyes looked brighter than they had in years. Things escalated fast. He started requesting her section, inviting her for coffee, then dinner. At first she said no because she had a son. Then suddenly she was asking a neighbor to watch me just for a little while. Her clothes changed. Heels. New lipstick. Hair done more carefully. She said, I'm finally taking care of myself. The day she introduced me to Graham, he was polite enough. Asked about school. But his attention slid right back to her like I was background noise. And I felt it clearly. I was no longer the center of her world. Within months, he proposed. The ring was huge. And my mother cried like she'd been rescued from a life she was ashamed of. We moved into his house, more like a museum than a home. Glass walls, spotless floors, a pool that looked like it belonged in a magazine. And I was placed in the smallest room at the far end of the hall, behind the laundry area, tucked away like an afterthought. Then came his kids, Blair, Cal, and Marin. Blair looked at me like I'd brought dirt into a clean room. Cal nodded once and disappeared into headphones. Marin smiled politely, but her eyes drifted away the second my mother wasn't looking. And one night, I overheard Blair on the phone. His mom is fine, but her kid is baggage. He doesn't match this family. My mother heard it too. She didn't defend me. Not even once. Family dinners were the worst. Long table. Expensive food. Conversations about vacations, investments, private schools, charity events. I try to talk about something normal, my science project, a robotics club flyer, but my words floated up and vanished like smoke. Nobody caught them. Nobody cared enough to. Even worse, my mother began rewriting our past out loud. She called our old life the struggle years like it was something embarrassing. She told Graham's friends she had no real support. And whenever my father's name came up, she dismissed him like he was nothing. Each time she did it, something inside me cracked. Then one afternoon, I was on her computer printing homework. A tab was open on a business page. I almost clicked away until I saw a face I recognized instantly. A headline about a technology company in San Francisco. The CEO's name, Adrian Mercer. My father, in a suit, in a glass office, looking nothing like the broke failure she described. Before I could read more, she appeared behind me,
Close the tab.
changed the password, and said sharply, "Stop snooping." That image burned into me, and my questions started getting louder. Right when they got loudest, Graham announced a big family vacation. 2 weeks. A luxury resort. Everyone lit up. Everyone except me. Because by then, deep down, I already felt what was coming. The first sign should have been dinner. Graham sat at the head of the table like a king. He swirled his drink and announced the trip like he was gifting everyone a dream. Blair gasped. Cal took off his headphones. Marin almost knocked her glass over from excitement. My mother touched Graham's arm like she belonged there completely. I waited for her to look at me. Just a nod. Just a Cal too. Nothing. When I finally asked, "Am I coming?" she answered without even facing me. "Of course. Don't make it weird." Then she turned back to their conversation like I'd interrupted something important. After that, they took his kids shopping. Matching luggage. New shoes. Swimsuits. While I stayed home scrubbing pans, cleaning up after dinner, doing everything I could to be easy. When I asked if I needed anything new, my mother said, "Your clothes still fit. Don't waste money." So I used what I'd saved from fixing neighborhood laptops and bought myself one cheap shirt. Not because I needed it, because I wanted to feel like I belonged in the picture. A few nights before the trip, I walked past their bedroom and heard Graham's voice. "I don't want complications on this vacation." My mother replied quickly. I've handled it. He won't be an issue. He's old enough. I froze in the hallway. They weren't talking about flight times. They were talking about me like I was an object being stored away. Still, I clung to hope. Kids do that. Even when hope is a trap. The morning we left, the sky was still dark. They rolled their shiny suitcases across the floor like a parade. I dragged my scuffed bag behind them. At check-in, Graham handed the agent passports. I counted.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Not 6. My stomach dropped. The agent frowned. I only see 5 passengers on the reservation. Graham leaned toward my mother. Talk to him. She pulled me aside near a kiosk. Her eyes darted around like she was afraid someone might hear. Kale, plans changed. You're not coming. The words didn't make sense.
What? Why?
What did I do? She sighed. Annoyed, not apologetic. Graham wants time with his kids. I need this trip to go smoothly. I told her I didn't have a key. I didn't know how I'd get back. She opened her wallet, shoved cash into my palm. Figure it out. You're smart. It was meant to sound like confidence, but it landed like an insult. Like my forced independence was proof she was right to discard me. I begged. Please, at least help me get a hotel for the night. She lowered her voice. Don't make this uncomfortable. I told Graham you'd be fine. Then she said the sentence that echoed in my head for years. I can't let my future fall apart because you're still clinging to me. She kissed my forehead, barely touching me, then turned and walked away. No look back. Blair looked over her shoulder just long enough to smirk. And just like that, their flight changed from boarding to departed. And I was standing there like extra baggage someone forgot on purpose. I tried calling her. Voicemail. Texting. Nothing. I sat near the food court holding the money, like it was proof I still mattered. I bought the cheapest drink I could so security wouldn't push me out. I watched families reunite. Parents lift their kids. Couples kiss goodbye. I felt invisible. Eventually, I went into the restroom and stared at my reflection under harsh lights. Red eyes. Shaking hands. And the truth hit me. She didn't leave me that night. She left me years ago. This was just the first time she stopped pretending. So I scrolled through my contacts. Found the name she told me to forget. Adrian Mercer. My father. My thumb hovered over the call button. And for the first time in years, I chose disobedience. I pressed call. It rang once.
Twice.
Then he answered immediately. Kale. His voice cracked slightly, and it hit me so hard I had to grip the counter. I'm at the airport, I whispered. I'm alone.
He didn't ask why. He didn't blame me. He didn't hesitate.
First words out of his mouth. Are you safe? Where are you? What gate? Is anyone with you? Like someone lit a match in a room I didn't realize was dark. When I told him, he said one sentence. Stay right there. I'm coming. I told him he was in California. He answered calmly. I have a way. Within minutes, an airport employee approached me. Your father asked us to take care of you, she said gently. She led me to a small private waiting area. Water. Snacks. A blanket. I didn't realize how cold I'd been until warmth touched my skin. I didn't realize how long I'd held my breath until I could finally exhale. But waiting was torture. 3 hours felt like 3 days. I kept thinking he'd change his mind, that he'd realize I wasn't worth the trouble. Then around midnight, an agent knocked. Come with me. She guided me through hallways, service doors, restricted corridors. My heart pounded harder with every step. Then the door opened. Cold air rushed in. And on the tarmac, a private jet sat like a promise. A tall man stepped down the stairs. And even before he got close, I recognized his walk. He stopped a few feet away, like he didn't want to scare me off. Then he said softly, K. Just one letter. A nickname from my childhood. And something I'd buried broke open.
He didn't grab me. He didn't demand. He asked, Can I hug you? I nodded. And he held me like he'd been waiting years. On the plane, he opened a briefcase.
Inside were things I didn't know existed. Letters he wrote, birthday cards, returned packages, call logs, receipts of child support.
Proof.
Not excuses. Proof of effort. Proof of love. He showed me every month he sent money. Never missed. Sometimes extra. And every payment was received. My mouth went dry. She told me you never. He shook his head slowly. I never missed a month. Then came the spending trail. Luxury stores. Spa charges. Resort bookings. Designer shopping. All funded with money meant for my food, my school supplies, my life. My chest tightened like breathing hurt. When we landed at his place, quiet, modern, overlooking the water, he led me upstairs. There was a room. A real room. A bed made neatly.
A desk.
A telescope by the window. I kept it ready, he said quietly. Every year. On the desk was a box. Inside were gifts. Not one. Many. A gift for every birthday he missed. I had to look away before my eyes blurred. He told me gently, you don't ever have to see her again. But I shook my head. I need my things. And deeper than that, I needed the truth to stop being trapped inside me. I need her to know, I said. He studied me carefully, then nodded. Then we go together. His lawyer met us. Dana Holt, calm, sharp, prepared. She explained what we could do legally, what we needed to document, what lines were crossed. As the jet went back down toward New Mexico, fear crawled into my chest again. I wasn't just going back to a house. I was going back to the version of myself that begged to be wanted. And I promised myself, whatever happens next, I won't run. The mansion looked the same.
Perfect. Cold.
Like a place designed for appearances, not comfort. We unlocked a side door. Walked inside. My room was still at the far end of the hall. When I stepped in, it didn't look like a bedroom. It looked like storage. Thin blanket. Bare shelf. No warmth. No proof anybody cared if I existed. I started packing. Then I opened a drawer and found a small tin box. Inside were old photos. Me at 2, 5, 7, laughing on my father's shoulders, holding his hand outside a comic shop. Some edges bent, some torn, like someone tried to erase him from the frame. Dana searched deeper. In the closet under piles of old clothes, she found a box. It was full of unopened envelopes. Dozens. Letters, postcards, small packages. All addressed to me. All sealed. All hidden. I sat on the bed holding them like they were heavier than paper. My father stood in the doorway, jaw tight. Not angry. Wounded. In my mother's office we found more. A folder labeled with my name. Emails to lawyers. Requests to restrict contact. Notes to update passwords. Instructions to schools. A plan. Not chaos. A plan to cut my father out and cut me off from him. Then the bank statements. And the rage rose so fast I had to grip the desk. Not because I wanted revenge. Because I finally understood. My childhood wasn't messy. It was managed. I sat at the desk and wrote one letter. Not insults. Not curses. Just truth. I wrote. I know about the letters. I know about the money. I know about the lies. I know you kept me away on purpose. And I wrote, I'm not leaving to punish you. I'm leaving because there's nothing real for me here anymore. I placed my house key on the bed, set the letter beside it. Then Dana placed the legal notice, documents my mother was required to receive. I packed only what was mine. And when I stepped into the hallway, my father put a hand on my shoulder. No speech. No dramatic moment. Just presence. And we left. I didn't look back. Because if I did, part of me would have begged to stay. Not because I belonged,
but because I spent too long trying to.
2 days later, I was settling into my father's home again when his security app pinged. Then a message from a neighbor back in Albuquerque. Your mom is home early. The house is chaos. She came back sooner than planned. A travel disruption. A missed connection. And suddenly, she was walking through that mansion expecting her life to still be perfectly arranged. She opened my door. Found it stripped bare.
Closet empty. Bed bare.
My key on the mattress. My letter centered like a final sentence. And the legal documents waiting like consequences. She started calling me. Over and over. Voicemails. Crying, then yelling, then pleading, then silence. Later that afternoon, the intercom buzzed. "There's a woman at the gate," the guard said. "Celine Mercer." Her voice came through the speaker, shaky, desperate, then angry. Like she could force her way back into my life, the way she forced me out of hers.
My father looked at me.
"Do you want to see her?" My chest tightened. But I nodded. Yes. But not alone. We sat in the living room.
My father beside me. Dana there.
And an observer present, quiet, official. The door opened. My mother rushed forward, with arms out. I stepped back.
"Sit down," I said.
She blinked like I slapped her.
"You left home," she snapped.
"You embarrass me." Then the tears came. It was a misunderstanding. The trip, Graham, everything got confusing. She looked at my father like he was poison.
"He abandoned you.
Now he's trying to buy you because he has money." I didn't raise my voice. I reached for the box beside me and slid out the first stack of letters. "These," I said, placing them on the table, "are the birthdays you said he forgot." I slid out another stack. Christmas. New Year. School invites. All unopened. All sealed. All hidden. She stammered. "I was going to give them to you. I was waiting for the right." I cut her off quietly. They were under sweaters. Still sealed. For years. Dana slid over the child support statements. "Mrs. Mercer," she said evenly, "support payments were received every month. The spending records show repeated personal luxury expenses that qualify as misuse of support intended for a minor." My mother's face drained. She tried to stand taller. "I built a better life for him." I met her eyes. That life didn't include me. Then Dana placed printed emails on the table. Requests to schools. Lawyers. Restrictions. And I asked the one question that mattered.
Why?
Why stop him from seeing me? For the first time, she hesitated. And then she whispered. Graham said it was easier. Less complicated. Right then the doorbell rang again. Security announced another visitor. Graham stepped into the room looking irritated, annoyed, not concerned. He didn't go to her. He didn't comfort her. He looked at her like an inconvenience. "I told you not to pull me into this," he said. "This is your mess." And my mother broke, shoulders shaking. For the first time in my life, she was the one left standing alone. I took a slow breath. "I didn't leave because I hate you," I said. "I left because you stopped being safe for me. You left me long before the airport. You pushed me out when you decided I didn't fit your new story." She reached for me again. I didn't move. "I'm not choosing sides," I continued. "I'm choosing a life where I'm wanted." Then I stood. And I thanked my father for showing up when nobody else did. And I walked out onto the balcony. Cold air. Quiet sky. And for the first time since I was 9, I felt a weight fall off my chest. After that, everything moved fast. Dana filed petitions regarding abandonment concerns and financial misuse. Investigations began. Interviews. School records. Statements from neighbors. One caseworker said a sentence I'll never forget. "Sometimes harm is what doesn't happen, not what does." My mother hired an attorney, insisting she was misunderstood. But when Graham was questioned, the truth spilled out colder than any insult. He admitted he wanted the trip to be just them. He said she told him I was old enough to handle myself. Hearing it spoken plainly felt like the airport all over again. Then a document surfaced, an old message my mother sent years earlier. "I don't want my son interfering with my future." That line hit like gravity. It wasn't a mistake. It was intention. In the end, my father gained legal authority over my care. My mother's access became limited. Supervised only if I agreed. Sitting in that room, I felt grief and relief together. Because losing a parent hurts. But realizing you never truly had them, that's a different ache. Life with my father wasn't perfect. But it was real. I got a real bedroom. Real meals. Therapy. Teachers who knew my name. Friends who didn't treat me like baggage. I learned something simple. Love doesn't vanish when things get difficult. Love shows up, even on a tarmac, even in the middle of the night. Years later, my mother sent me a letter. For once, it wasn't blame. It said, in her own messy way, I was so afraid of losing everything that I didn't notice I was losing you first. I cried reading it, not because I wanted to go back, but because it was the closest thing to honesty she had ever offered me. As I got older, I studied family systems, youth advocacy, and legal protection for minors. Because I couldn't change what happened to me, but I could become the kind of adult I needed when I was 15. And now, I can say this without anger. I forgive her. But forgiveness is a door I open for myself, not an invitation for her to walk back in. When I think back to that airport, I don't see only abandonment anymore. I see discovery. I see a kid who finally stopped believing a lie. I see a father who came when he didn't have to. And I see the moment my life changed direction. I'm not the boy staring at a departure board anymore. I'm Kale Mercer. And I know where I belong. Healing isn't always loud. Sometimes healing is just choosing yourself, again and again, until the past loses its grip. If this story reached you in any way, I hope it reminds you. You are not what someone failed to give you. You're what you build after. Before I go, tell me you're here, type hi, or tell me where you're watching from. And if you want more stories about survival, resilience, and rebuilding, subscribe. It helps this little corner of the internet become a place where people like us don't feel so alone.
Revenge with Sasha.